Well, we thought we'd hung up our headphones for the summer, but it seems the World Cup semi-final is just too much of an irresistible temptation for us. So I'm going to call Michael Heron now, our news, culture and sport guy, and see if he's there. I think he's answering. Yes, there he is.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Michael. Hola, boa tarde. How are you?
Carlos, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. A little bit nervous and full of anticipation each time I remember there's a semi-final this evening. Probably like yourself.
Yeah, it feels very real now, doesn't it? There's, there's no, there's. I think everyone's feeling the pressure now, but in a nice way, because in a way, the pressure's already off because we've already achieved a lot more than we thought we would before the tournament started. I mean, if you'd said to me a month ago that we'd be having this conversation now, I'd have laughed you out of the room.
Really?
Or off the line in this case. Yeah, no way.
There would have been the hope there, wouldn't they? But I think it's safe to say we have passed that threshold that we were talking about. The Southgate Threshold is now obviously the name of it. And that's the moment when the country and other people, not just English people, get behind the team, and the decades, the barren years of disappointment are suddenly forgiven and behind us.
Yeah, well, I just had a business call just 5 minutes ago, literally, and it was with a guy in the US and a guy in Holland, and they were both, aware of the match and wishing me luck. So yeah, it's you realise this is a global event, and there's going to be so many people watching. It's the semi-finals, this is when it's gets huge in terms of viewing figures. So yeah, it's a privilege that we're there. Let's hope we can go one step further. As I was thinking earlier what to say when you call me, but what I've come up with is if these guys lose today, they still come home as heroes, but if they win, they come home as legends.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Gareth Southgate will be saying that to them?
I hope so. I think. Well, do you know what's really interesting is that and I found this out recently. His first training session, which was in around October 2016, he got all the players together and just had showed them this video that he'd made or had somebody make for him, just showing them what it means to be an England player. Obviously, he was an England player, so he can, relate to that. And just trying to remind them how important, how privileged they should feel to be an England player, and that, they should take it seriously and be proud. So, it sounds like he's had this long-term strategy from the very beginning. And I think he has spoken to them about the 66 winners and the fact that they are immortal and they are legends. And Jürgen Klinsmann, who's a former German international player, you may remember him, he was on the BBC yesterday, and he was saying that as a former World Cup winner, it's not until you retire that you realise how big your achievement is. He says when you're still a player, you don't really realise it. But he says now that he's no longer a player, he says no matter where he travels in the world, there will always be people coming up and wanting to speak to him about that World Cup winning team in 1990, West Germany, and talk to him about the tournament and the match and the final.
And these guys are so young as well, aren't they? They've got so much football ahead of them, as well as that to look forward to.
Yeah, they do. In a way that I think that takes a little bit of pressure in that in 4 years' time, it's when they'll be at their peak. They'll all be around 28, whereas now they're all still so young. But my gut is telling me they're not going to ever have an opportunity like this to get to a final again. Playing Croatia in a semi-final, that's going to be very difficult to repeat again. So
okay,
come home as legends. Let's bring it home.
Vem para casa, I think, as we say in Portugal.
Casa, yeah. And then it's euphoria, pandemonium, whatever you want to call it. Then we can all go a bit crazy.
Well, two things then. We've got to get down to business, because not only have we passed the Southgate threshold, you've been a lucky charm. So we thought we'd hung our headphones up for the summer, but we had to speak, didn't we? Because these conversations are obviously what's helping England win each time.
Well, let's just grab onto any momentum that we can get. So why not?
Okay.
And I thought, why not? Let's do one more preview. And obviously, if we get to the final, we maybe have to do another one on Sunday. But after my previous predictions have seemed to have been fairly close.
You've been good. I got to say, congratulations to you. Your insight has been pretty impeccable. I mean, these are hard things to call under the circumstances with so many variables. But you've stuck your neck out and you've been pretty amazing, really, with your predictions. So how is it going to be tonight? Is it going to be 2-1 to England? Is it going to be gritty extra time? Or is it going to be an awkward penalty shootout? How are you seeing it?
All right. Well, I'm going to try and give my honest opinion as objectively as possible, obviously with a hint of positivity, because,
yes.
I think we have to be positive. But I think the one advantage that England have over Croatia is that Croatia, in their last two matches in the round of 16 and the quarterfinal, they, in both matches, had to play full 90 minutes, 30 minutes of extra time, and then penalties. They won both matches, but I think their players are going to be really tired. Don't forget, they've played a full season of, in Modric's case, who's their star player. He's played a full season at Real Madrid, probably including all the matches they've played in the Champions League, getting to the final and winning. He's probably played at least 50 matches. So you add that with all the World Cup matches he'll have played and 2 matches with 90 minutes extra time and penalties, I think they're going to be tired. So I think that's a huge advantage that England have, obviously, because against Belgium, Gareth was wise enough to rest 8 of the players because we were fortunate in that we'd already qualified, and that now seems like a masterstroke, doesn't it? That we
yes.
got that easier side of the draw. And to add to that, the Colombia game was extra time and penalties, but the match against Sweden was quite an efficient match. We've got no injuries at all, so I think that's going to be a huge advantage. I still think that Croatia are very dangerous. Modric and Rakitic in midfield are clearly their 2 best players. We're going to have to be extremely careful. But if we can somehow manage to keep the ball, which we've been doing very well, and let them run around chasing it, then I've got a feeling that we're going to win. I couldn't tell you exactly how we're going to win. My gut feeling is saying maybe 2-1, possibly even in extra time, as getting the winner in extra time. Yeah. So I think it's going to be very close. But yeah, I think they've got enough to win. I think they're confident that they can win. If we win, the final against France is going to be much harder, and we'll talk about that if we get there.
Of course, otherwise we will just skulk away as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, exactly. But the hard thing is that if we do lose, we will have to stay in Russia and play the 3rd and 4th playoff on on Saturday. Yeah. Which is good and bad. It's good because you get the chance to finish the tournament on a high. It's bad because at that point the players probably just want to go home.
Sure.
Unless you're Harry Kane, who can add to his golden boot tally. And let's talk about that. That's one thing that I think is almost guaranteed that we'll be bringing home, and that's the golden boot. We haven't had that since Lineker in '86, so that's something we can all be proud about already.
Well, when we say to each other, do you remember that World Cup back in 2018 in those early days in Portugal? Awesome.
Well, the worst thing about losing in the semi-final of a World Cup is that unless you're a sort of a buff like me who likes to, collect statistical knowledge in football, nobody ever remembers who the semi-finalists were. So if I was Gareth Southgate, I would be saying that to the players, look, just get to the final. Yeah. If you lose in the final, at least everyone will remember you. If you lose in a semi-final, no one will remember you. So let's go from heroes to legends and let's win.
Fantastic.
And let's win in style.
Well, we both seem to be thinking 2-1 to England. That's the Good Morning Portugal prediction.
What do you think? I never ask you anything. You're always asking me. What do you think, Mr. Munson?
Well, I haven't got a clue. That's why you're here. But
no, you do. Tell me, what do you think?
Deep in my soul, or in my pundit alter ego, I'm thinking 2-1 to England. I'm thinking old dogs versus young pups. and if they don't do anything silly, they may just take it 2-1, and that might be done in 90 minutes. But as you say, it may stretch to the extra time, and all the time they're playing, the Croatians are getting more and more tired.
No, absolutely. And what of the matches you've seen? What have you seen that you've liked? What's impressed you the most?
The cold beer in my hand that I look over as I watch the television screen has always been very nice, I have to say. No, what's been great is this turnaround, because it's pretty obvious. I'm not a massive football fan. I don't know a lot about football, but I do really enjoy the way people think and human psychology, and how this has changed things for English fans, for anyone involved in football, and even not involved in football in England. What's really interesting about this is the British government are in utter disarray. There is this weird sort of fabricated chemical warfare thing going on, allegation against Russia, the hosts. So what situation will that bring about? And Trump's visiting UK, so it's going to be completely acrimonious in the UK over the next week or so, apart from what's going on in football in Russia, which is a really weird set of circumstances. And what will happen? Who is going to come and support the team in the final, should they make it?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But you're right. I mean, I think even we can feel just how things have unfolded being here in Portugal, because obviously we keep up to date with what's happening in England. I think even we feel just how things have changed, and how much support there is for the team. And you're right, it is a bizarre thing, isn't it, when you have all these other big news stories, especially related to Russia, and they're just sort of parked to one side. Well, not parked to one side, but the media are obviously prioritising the big story, which is England in the semis of the World Cup. Yeah. It's incredible how it does take over, and there's no other sport that could do that. If it was rugby or cricket or hockey, forget it. It would still be a footnote.
It's put tennis in the shade, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Who's even watching Wimbledon? I'm not.
And then, of course, the other big news story is the lads, the footballers who were trapped in the Thai cave. Now, they're fantastically all rescued and invited to Portugal to see Benfica play. Well, yeah, this was. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up as well. I think that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And Benfica, they're a great club for these sort of things. They're really switched on. You remember that Brazilian? I can't remember the name now. The Brazilian football team that died in a plane crash recently, last year. Let me see if I can look it up quickly. And Benfica stepped up, did they?
Chapecoense. So Benfica have an annual friendly match, which is the last friendly match they play before the season starts. It's called the Eusebio Cup, and usually they'll invite a big team to their, to the Stadio Luz, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, big teams. And last year they wanted to play Chapecoense, but unfortunately there was, they weren't able to do it, but they had arranged for that match. So they are very good at this kind of thing, and very generous. And I thought that was a lovely gesture with the Thai lads.
Absolutely.
For a week to train, yeah.
So big up to Benfica, big up to football as a whole, in bringing a change in England and elsewhere. I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because the World Cup definitely has brought people a lot of entertainment and fun, and plus the bittersweetness or the sweet bitterness of being knocked out, and that's the way it has to go with football, because somebody's got to lose. But it's also distracted people, which is a good and a bad thing from some of the terrible things that are going on in the world. But especially big up to the England squad, these young fellas who've really turned things around, and their leadership through Gareth Southgate, and things to learn about leadership there, I think. And we're thinking 2-1. We both seem to be thinking that will be the way it goes. A final thought from you then about tonight's match.
Well, I think the most important thing is that they enjoy it, because most of them will have dreamed, all of them will have dreamed of being in a moment like this. And sometimes when you reach these moments in life, you're so worried about performing that you don't enjoy it. And maybe if they can just enjoy it, they'll then perform well. So I hope they enjoy it, and they deserve to enjoy it. They deserve to be where they are. They've done exceptionally well so far. And I've got I never thought I'd ever say this about England. My God, I have to correct myself almost, but I have complete 100% faith in Gareth and his team that they will do us proud and they'll perform well. And if we get a bit of luck, like we have done in a couple of our matches, then I think we're going to win.
What a fabulous note to end on. You won't hear from us probably until September, unless, of course, England get into the final. Then you'll definitely be hearing from us with more excitement and predictions.
We'll do a monster hour.
We'll fly to Russia. Okay. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks very much, Carl.